could most certainly be deceiving. For all you know, this is a 330i, and I clickbaited you with the 340i moniker in the title. But I didn't do that today. The F30 is one of those cars that I don't think a lot of purists really liked. But as time is progressing, in fact, this generation came out in like 2012, 2013. We are now looking at a car that's over 10 years old. But in that time, looking at where the automotive industry has gone, going more electronic, going more tech-focused, and hybrid-focused from BMW, the F30 might just be aging very well here. And more specifically, with this 340i, we have a fantastic pairing that just might get you guys excited. In today's video, we're going to check out this 340i and see why it's special. Why today, even though the F30 is often hated, this car right here could be a fun daily driver for you and also possibly a future classic in years to come. Now, before I dive into this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Infinity of Norwood in Norwood, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out this F30 340i. I also want to thank Adam, who's the general manager at Infinity of Norwood, for inviting me down here to check out this car, because I do not think it is going to be sticking around very long, especially in this condition and with the miles on the odometer. So if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's dive right into this car and check out what the 340i has to offer us now, 8 years later. As we begin this video taking a look at the exterior, we got to talk about the pricing to put everything into perspective here for this 340i and where it stands now on the used car market. So in 2018, the 340i had a starting cost of just over $50,000. But the model we're taking a look at today has close to $10,000 worth of options that pushes the price tag to over 60 grand. And it's the pricing that really hurt the 340i in the long run. Because for $60,000, you really weren't far off from an M3. And the M3, for a lot of enthusiasts and purists, was the better way to go because you had the M badges. You had a car that was going to give you an exhilarating driving experience. Whereas the 340i, it kind of looks like a 330i. It kind of looks like a 320. Now, we have the M Sport package giving us an aerodynamic appearance to this car, but still somewhat subdued compared to what we have with the G20 now. Up front, you are going to receive LED headlights. That was part of the LCI facelift back in 2016. We also have the fog lights as well for better visibility at night or in adverse weather conditions. I think what a lot of you are going to love here out of this generation is the kidney grills. And they really are kidney grills, not lungs like we have with the M3 and M4 these days. So I have no idea where BMW went wrong on that one. We also have more intakes to cool off that inline 6-cylinder engine. And with the gloss black trim, this is part of the Shadowline package, which a lot of you do know about now with that G20. But one thing you don't notice is an egregious amount of that gloss black trim. This car kind of flies below the radar, doesn't draw a lot of attention. Now, as we make our way over to the side profile with the M Sport package, we have a very standard looking 18-inch alloy wheel setup here. Now, with this wheel design, with this wheel package, it's going to be nice and soft. We do have the adaptive M suspension here out of this car, so on those weekday commutes, on those longer road trips, maybe even on the track, you should find yourself relatively comfortably here. Now, unfortunately, we do not have the track package that would give us blue brake calipers, a more track-focused sedan. But again, with any more optional packages, you'd probably just go with an M3 and call it a day. Now, also what you're going to notice here with the 340i, we do have body color match side mirror caps to go along with turn signal indicators. And best of all, we have blind spot detection for added safety. That is an add-on here for the 2018 model. As you make our way around to the back, this is where I think the 340i looks a bit more understated, right? Like it looks like a 330i from far away. And these taillights in some ways are kind of aging well, looking at where BMW's design language has gone. The only way to distinguish a 340i from a 330 is that fact that we have the dual exhaust outlets here, letting us know it is going to be a fun car to drive on a winding back road. Also, better yet, no gloss black trim, no cheap materials here. It's all just one color. I think many of you are going to appreciate that. But really though, this car does fly below the radar, and maybe some of you are looking for that on the used car market. The real gem here for the F30 340i is what's powering it. It's a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder engine, also known as the B58. Back in 2016, this was the first time we saw this engine paired with a 3 Series, and it replaced the N55, giving you 320 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque, and it can be paired with either a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, or like the model we have today, a 6-speed manual, which is why this particular sedan is very special, also might just be rare. So I'm excited to get on the road and show you guys what this car is all about. Now, 0 to 60 times do come in at around 5 seconds with the 6-speed manual, whereas with the ZF 8-speed, you're looking at close to 4.5. Still pretty quick for today's standards, and it's faster than a modern-day Subaru WRX and Elantra N. So if you want an all-wheel drive sedan like this one, you have that, and that leads me into the drivetrain options. With the 340i, you could go with a rear-wheel drive drivetrain. So not only could you get rear-wheel drive, but also have a 6-speed manual. And those are even more rare, because a lot of them were all-wheel drive. Makes sense because, for one, you have the xDrive all-wheel drive system, and a lot of people do live in colder regions of the U.S. So you have some customizability here with this platform, and honestly, it's the mechanical components that are probably the best aspects of this sedan. But we'll talk about why the F30 is not the most liked in the 3 Series lineage. Hopping inside this 3 Series, it is a blast from the past. No massive infotainment system, no full digital gauge cluster, physical buttons on the dashboard. It is so beautiful to see. Like, why is BMW torturing us with their interior layouts now in the newer BMWs? I just don't get it. We have dual zone climate control. We have two-level heated outboard seats. All the buttons here for your climate control settings, AC, front and rear defrosters, it is all here. You have your presets, your volume knob. Oh, this is what it's all about. But then you get to the center console and you have that 6-speed manual. Just beautiful. Next to that is going to be your drive mode selector. So one key feature here with the F30 3 Series, and with this being a manual, you're going to have Eco Pro, Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Interestingly enough, with Sport Plus, you get rid of the traction control, but it also eliminates auto rev matching. So yes, even in 2018, we had auto rev matching with the 340i, but it can be disabled, and at least you have that if you want more of an authentic, old school, raw experience here with the 340. Now, when it pertains to the seats for our model, we have power adjustable heated Dakota leather sport seats because the M Sport package, and this is going to give you some comfort, but also the support necessary when you are on those winding back roads, or possibly when you're on the track. And then when you're going to work, they're comfortable, more importantly, very plush. In front of you will be a heated leather-wrapped steering wheel, which feels really nice in the hands, aggressive 10-2 and firm 9-3 grips. And you're also going to have some physical buttons on your steering wheel as well, and this will pertain to your hands-free calling buttons. Also, you can change the mode for your radio. For our model, we do have a head-up display, which is easy to read and also not too distracting, really nice. We're going to have analog gauges. Yep, analog gauges and a small information display in between those analog gauges. Nothing crazy, nothing overly exciting. Making our way over to the infotainment system, in some ways this kind of reminds me of modern day Mazdas, the previous generation CX-5 and current generation CX-50, where this screen is not within arm's reach, but it is a touchscreen. It does function as a touchscreen. We also have the Harman Kardon audio system to amplify the audio of your favorite music, and we do have Apple CarPlay from 2018. Really nice here, but better yet, if you don't want to reach for that screen, here you have that dial. Love to see it with the iDrive software. So that way you can scroll through different menu layouts and easily access the information or features that you're looking for. And better yet, there's quick access icons for your media, menu, map, navigation, back, and option. I love to see it. Really love to see it. Now, finally getting into those packages that we have here on our model that makes up the price tag of $60,135. Going to begin with the M Sport package. We have the 18-inch alloy wheels, adaptive M suspension, which I think is necessary if you do live up here in New England where our roads absolutely stink. Aluminum dark carbon trim, M steering wheel, the aerodynamic kit. So that's the one thing that kind of sets this car apart from the 330i. It has been a long time since I have seen a 330i, so to be honest, all F30s kind of look the same, but the aerodynamic kit does give you a bit more of a sportier and dynamic appearance. The Shadowline exterior trim, which really only makes up that gloss black grille there, so not as egregious as the G20. And then the anthracite headliner. And then lastly is going to be the premium package, giving you heated front seats, navigation system, a head-up display, etc. There's also some other smaller items as well that makes up the price tag, such as the heated outboard seats, active blind spot detection. I can't believe that's $500 as an option back in 2018. The park distance control for $750. Apple CarPlay compatibility was $300. It was a $300 add-on back in 2018, and wireless phone charging was $500. Not as much of a surprise there. And then you will have the destination charge of close to $1,000. But really, though, this car is still pretty well equipped, even without the track package. But still, though, if you're looking for a daily driver, this might be the one to go with if you want a manual transmission and you don't want something that's unrefined, like, say, a Subaru WRX. It might be fair to say that the BMW F33 series might just be this brand's Porsche 911 996. It has the misfortune of being between the E90, which is legendary because it had a V8, had a manual, had hydraulic steering, and then its successor was the G20, which addressed all of the weak points for the F30. BMW had to go back to what they knew very well, and that was giving you the authentic ultimate driving machine experience. With the F30, this is the first generation that gave you electronic steering. And I can tell you this right now, you notice that immediately. Even compared to a G20. If you hop into a G20 and then get behind the wheel of an F30, there is no comparison whatsoever. Now, the saving grace for the 340i, and why I believe it's a potential future classic and collector car, is because it has a great pairing. More specifically, the model we're taking a look at today with the B58 motor, which we all know might just be the best inline six ever made, and is paired with a 6-speed manual. Now, with the 340i, you could go with the ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, which 95 to 97% of buyers went with. With this 6-speed manual, it is a rare car. It's actually really rare. I've tried finding the numbers, and it seems to be somewhere in the ballpark of like 1,500 to 2,000 that were ever sold in the US. Now that could be a little too low, but they were never numbered. So this ends up being one of those cars where it's like, if you know, you know. And if you do own these cars and you want to sell one, you can easily say, I know what I got. Now, on the used market, a 2018 340i with a 6-speed manual is going to fetch right around $30,000. Our model has right around 60,000 miles, so there's a lot more life left in this car. And even though this car doesn't have the communication, the feedback, the connectivity that would be found out of an E90, having this 6-speed manual changes everything. You're no longer just a passive driver. You can still feel fully engaged. Now, also with the F30, and more specifically the 340i, this is kind of a sports sedan in a business suit. I mean, you draw absolutely no attention with this car whatsoever outside of the tinted windshield and tinted windows. You can really fly below the radar here with this sedan, and it can be a great daily driver because it has all-wheel drive. So even up here in New England on a cold, rainy day like today, which it will be turning to snow pretty soon, you can get to your destination safely, also have some fun as well. For those of you who are seriously considering buying one of these, what I'm going to tell you is this. It's overly smooth, maybe too smooth of a driving experience, because there is no struggle here with this car. You have a nice clutch that is, I think, somewhat light. I'm going to say it's somewhat light, but it's refreshing to have in 2026. With the 6-speed manual itself, I don't think the gear shifts are notchy. I really don't. Again, it's too smooth. It feels too refined. I can kind of see why BMW moved away from all of this. Now, I would have to see what a Z4 is like today with the 6-speed manual. Obviously, the BMW M3 and M4. But I personally think this car is just way too smooth for its own good. When it comes to the power band and just the overall performance, there's a lot at your disposal. The sure, 320 horsepower, 330 pound-feet of torque doesn't sound like a lot in today's automotive world, but it gives you just enough where you can have a lot of fun, but not get yourself into trouble, even with a 0 to 60 time of around 5 seconds. More importantly, there's not many four-door sedans out there these days, new or used, that can give you a driving experience quite like this. And that's where I'm going to say that even though all the critics for the F30 were correct, as time is progressing, as this generation is aging, it is starting to age like fine wine. That yes, the G20 is better in every single way, with the inline 6, with the B58, with that ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. But what you get here is something a bit more, and that is soul. And that is very rare from BMW these days. I think you could look at the Ultimate Driving Machine as being nothing more than a tagline in the 2020s, a relic of yesteryear. But the F30 340i is the last representative of that past. And while, like I said before, the electronic steering does take away a lot, there's just something to this car that I can't help but appreciate. And I can't help but feel intoxicated being behind the wheel. And that's where I'm beginning to notice just how special this car really is. And just like with the 996 911, right? Had the misfortunes of being between the 993 and 997, but as time is progressing, people are beginning to buy it. The resale prices are going up. The same is going to happen to the 340i just because of its rarity and also the fact you had that 6-speed manual. For a vehicle that could be seen as a fantastic one-car solution, the suspension, I think, is tuned perfectly, even though it's too smooth, and that's where BMW went wrong. But this was always seen as a more grown-up version of a Volkswagen Golf R. It was a grown-up version of a GTI. It was going to be that refined driving experience that gave you better performance, that gave you a car that was going to feel more upscale, more luxurious, while also being performance-oriented. Now, the only question here is that for a car well-equipped coming in at $60,000, was it worth it? Would you go all out with the M Sport package, the track package? At $60,000 or $62,000, you were about $5,000 off from an M3. And that was one of the key factors that led to the 340i not really being well known, because it didn't have an M badge. It didn't have a flashy design. It didn't have what a lot of enthusiasts at that time were looking for. And for the BMW purists, it was a step back from the E90. But here we are now, in a time when people are begging for cars like this, that are seeking cars like this, and the 340i is still flying below the radar. Which is why, if you are seriously looking at buying one of these, do so now before those resale values start skyrocketing like everything else on the used market. This really is a car that deserves some admiration. This is a car that I would say is certainly something you should be taking a look at if you're looking at buying your first ever sports car or sports sedan. And then for the smart shopper, if you don't want to break the bank, you also want a car that's a bit more tactile and analog. You're tired of technology, but you still want to have your infotainment system and smartphone connectivity. This might be the way to go.